Hello, welcome to Movement Not Miracles. I'm Anna from Eat, Move, Be Happy, and the sun is shining today. It might be a little bit colder, the sun is shining, and that's okay by me. So Movement Not Miracles are your bite-sized ideas for moving a little bit more, keeping your joints a bit healthier, avoiding some of those aches and pains that we can get from stiffening up. So top tip, avoid sitting or standing in the same position for long periods of time, because that's when things can get stiffer, our muscles get stiffer, our joints get stiffer, and leads to poor posture and those aches and pains. So today we're going to look at some twists that we can do to look after our predominantly upper back. Some of which I'll do standing, but you can also do some of these seated, and we'll look at that in a second. I'll talk you through all of that. Just before we start with the movement, then I just want to remind you, there's a couple of things to watch out for. We are facing into a winter lockdown. Probably won't be the only winter lockdown. And for some, we're talking to people, more and more people who the prospect of a winter lockdown is a little bit more daunting than the first time round. So if you need some support or some help in just helping you work through how you can look after your well-being during winter and in a winter lockdown, then check out the website www.eatmovebehappy.com. There are different online coaching programs, some around eating and exercise, some around well-being and mental health, to give you some practical ideas and tips, and a support network to help you if you're finding this time particularly difficult. There are some free places available, so please check out the website and pass the details on to other people and people who you think might benefit, because we'd like to be able to help as many people as we can in what could be quite a tricky winter. So enough wittering, let's get on with our Movement Not Miracles. So to start off with, I'll just move my chair out of the way a little bit. I've not taken my socks off, apologies, my feet are cold. I have taken my slippers off, which is marginally better, but my feet are cold and I didn't want to get them even colder. So to start off with, we're just going to either seated or standing. I am going to do a seated twist in a minute, but this we're working on mobility at the moment rather than a stretch move. So seated or sitting or standing tall with your weight evenly distributed between the left and the right side. That's either your feet or your bones in your bottom. So if you're sitting, don't sit on the fleshy part of your bum, sit on the bones of your bottom and sit up nice and tall. And we're just going to do a simple twist around. My back is particularly stiff this morning or today. We've gone past morning now, haven't we? So just moving, and what I want you to think about is you can let your hips move a little bit so we can get movement through the whole of that spine, but we're going for movement, so you can use your arms to help you. If it's easier, let your arms flow, let them dangle and swing, or if you want something just to feel like you can pull your shoulders round, then you can fold your arms in front of you. And just each time, think of your shoulders coming round as well, and think of as much movement through that spine as you can. So we're not just moving our arms, although that in itself might feel quite nice, and I'm not saying don't do that, but also aim for moving through your spine as well. So our spine should move. You have less movement in that upper thoracic region, the region in between your shoulder blades. However, it should move and not be stiff, completely stiff. So just helping with some twisting can help loosen up that upper back, which is certainly for me the bit that gets the most stiff. Right, so still focusing on this area, we're going to do some elephant ears. So I'll just pull my t-shirt down and then you don't have to stir up tummy. I think that ship might have sailed actually. So elbows back, hands clasped behind your head and elbows back. And we're aiming for, it's really easy whether we're sitting or standing, when you get into that position, your bottom sticks out. And I don't want you to let that bottom stick out. So if you've got a big arch in your lower back, that can put some extra strain on your lumbar region. So what I want you to think of doing is supporting that lower back, tilting your pelvis, working through your bottom and working through your tummy muscles. And when you bring your arms back, that position stays. And then we're just going to do some side bends. So staying with our elbows back, seeing if you can just point your elbow towards the floor. So you're not going to get as much movement as you would if you were doing a normal side bend, which we'll do in a second. But this, if you're gripping through your tummy and working to keep your hips still, using the muscles in your bum and your tummy, then you hopefully will get a little bit more movement through that upper back. And then you could just take that into a twist as well, trying to keep your elbows back. So when you twist, you're not bringing your elbow forward, so you're almost using your elbows almost like the handles of a corkscrew, but you need to really grip through your hips. If you move round through your hips, again, that's not wrong, and you'll get more movement through your lower back, which is fine. But if you want to focus on the upper region of your back, then keep hold of that bottom part still and just rotate through the upper back. Okay, a bit of a tactical waggle with your shoulders. Now this one, next one, is not strictly a twist, but it is a movement through your spine, so we're going to do a side bend. So feet a little bit wider, a bit more comfortable for me, and sitting nice and tall if you're seated, and then just bend down one side and then the other side. Now you should feel more movement through the lower part of your back with this one. And keep the movement in that side plane, so we're not bending forwards to bend. And then we're going to introduce, if you can, a nice stretch up with one arm and then reach over, and then stretch up, reach down with one arm and over with the other. So now we're introducing a bit of a stretch down this side as well as the movement through the spine. Okay, so now we're going to take these into a bit more of a hold, so still a twist, and we're going to use our chair. So I want you to sit away from the back of the chair, so on the edge of the chair but not so far forwards that you're going to wobble off or slip off. So make sure you feel secure, and feet flat on the floor. So sitting nice and tall, one hand across the opposite thigh and reach behind you with that other arm, staying nice and tall. You need to be sitting tall. If you're slouched down, you're not going to get the movement through your vertebrae. And so you're aiming for as much space. Imagine that somebody has got a rope attached to the crown of your head and is pulling you nice and tall. So if we sit up nice and tall and then twist around, if the back of the chair is a bit too high, get hold of a lower portion of the chair, that's fine. And then this time we're going to hold this twist, and each time you breathe out, see if you can twist a tiny bit further round. And then we'll do the same thing with the other side. So start again, and then feels a bit stiffer this side. And because we all know the second time is better. We'll do the same thing on the first side and then come back. Sitting nice and tall. And second time. Oh, I've got a bit more movement this side now. See, second time is always better. That definitely feels better in my upper back. And then again, this one's not strictly a twist, but just to work on your outer hips. Again, you can do this one seated. So if you just lift one ankle up and rest it on your thigh, and so we're aiming to get a bit of a stretch and some movement, some external rotation in those hips. It's really easy to stay in this sort of position. If we're sitting, or even worse, if we sit like this and we're really slouched down, that is really not good for our posture. So sitting nice and tall and encouraging some external rotation in that hip, and you can just gently rest on your knee to encourage that knee to, the hip to rotate and the knee to go down towards the floor. So you should feel a bit of a stretch on the outside of your hip, and then to increase that stretch you can just lean forwards. And then we'll do the same on the other side. So again, sitting nice and tall. This side's definitely stiffer. We all have one side that's either a bit stronger or a bit stiffer than the other, and that's quite normal. We just work to minimise the wonkiness. Too much wonkiness is not good. Again, that impacts our posture, but a little bit of imbalance is quite normal. So we'll just do that once more each side as well, because the second time is always better. Sitting nice and tall, and if you need to increase the stretch, just lean forwards a little bit, and then once more on this side. Just gently encouraging that knee down towards the floor with your elbow. There shouldn't be any pain, not in the joint. You should feel muscles stretching, so there should be some sensation, but it should not be pain. So we don't want to work through any pain, but your muscles should be working. Okay, so some twists and some pseudo twists just to help you get a bit more movement through mainly your upper back and a little bit in your hips. Doing something is better than doing nothing, so some movement throughout the day is a really good idea, and looking after your posture means that you can actually ward off some of those aches and pains that we get from stiffening up. So it is a good idea to look after your joints and stretch through your muscles. Movement, not miracles. It does what it says on the tin. So enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Couldn't even remember what day it was then. Enjoy the rest of your day. Don't forget to check out the website www.eatmovebehappy.com, and I will see you tomorrow.